Angelica's already here. She's like, did I win today? Hi, everybody. Okay, you guys. We're doing it. We're here. We're doing it. I'm not so nervous anymore as I am really anxious to just get started. So, hi, everybody. Oh my god, you made it, Valcoria. Hi. Nice to see people are rolling in, people are here. I am so excited. Also, I have, oh, you love my hair, thank you. I got up at 5:30 this morning to make sure I looked decent for this live stream, so I appreciate that compliment. I did not wake up like this. So, anyways, hi guys. We are going to be starting a new book today, and not only are we starting a new book, we're starting a whole new topic / lesson into astrology. So I know that there's probably still people that are going to be rolling in the next couple minutes, but we have so much to cover today that I am really just going to get started. I want to go over a few main things before we dive into the reading and get going. I wrote a little list out of things that I want to preface before we start this whole series, which I'll probably in the beginning of each live stream maybe touch back and remind people of these things. So I'm really going to count on my moderators today, or even everybody else in the live stream. You know, most of the time when we do these witchy book clubs, hey Rebecca, we haven't really started yet, you just got here, so it's really great to see you. So I'm really counting on you guys to help in the chat as much as possible. Normally, I'm very engaged with you guys and everything that you type, and I try to interact with you because that's the fun of the live stream. But for this specific topic and these live streams, I am probably going to rely more on what I'm saying and just continue going so we can get through everything. And I'm gonna be counting on my moderators or the other people who don't have the wrenches but that can help to kind of help out in the comments. If there's a question, like a real question about something that I'm already talking about, write it in capital letters, okay? So that I can make sure that I'm not getting too off topic, but I'm still interacting with you guys. Good morning Gina. Hi Heather, hi beautiful. Okay, I got some more people in here. We're just gonna get started with a few things. If you have questions along the way that are pertaining to what I'm talking about at that moment, put them in all caps, and if my moderators that are here or that come could reinforce that question if I miss it, that's really how I'm gonna try and interact with you guys the most. All right, so if you didn't know and you're just popping in randomly, we are starting a new book for Witchy Book Club, and it's the only astrology book you'll ever need. I really wanted to write that in the title of this live stream, but it was too long. This is a very, very big book. We will not be reading this entire book. We are going to be using this more as a textbook style. We will be reading quite a bit of it, but we might not be reading it in sequential order. We might be reading a couple chapters here and maybe one towards the end of the book, and I'll let you know that as we go on. So here's a couple things I'd like to preface before we begin. I am in no way the only holder of knowledge of astrology. Okay, there's many different types of astrology. There's many different ways to connect certain things. My grandmother taught me astrology. She started learning astrology back in the 70s. She's made a business out of it her whole life. So how I was taught was by my grandmother. There are some things that nowadays in astrology textbooks she did not teach me, or that might more modernly known as different than what she knew, and that's what she told me. So I will do my best to provide both information if I can, but there are some things that there's things I just don't know, or there's no way that I can cover everything. There's no way, and I think that's why I've avoided this topic for so long, because it's so overwhelming to me, and I take this so seriously, and I'm so passionate about it, that I want to make sure that I am doing it justice. And it's hard to sit with the fact that I'm just never going to be able to cover everything. Like there's no way I'm going to forget things, or there's no way I'm going to be able to have the time to get around everything. So I'm starting that off with, you know, just because I don't bring something up doesn't mean that it's not valid for that energy or that sign or that house. It just means maybe I forgot in that moment to bring it up, or, you know, we really focused a lot on this area of it. So I'm going to do my very, very best to teach you guys in the easiest, most comprehensive and fun way. And I just have to be okay with that. And I hope you guys understand that as well. We are going to be discussing birth charts. So how I plan on doing this is that, you know, for our reading for this week, we had the introduction, the sun signs, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. But the easiest way I feel to learn astrology is to learn all of the areas at once. And so what I mean by that is that there's planets associated with each sign, there's houses associated with each sign, there's you know, cardinal, fixed, and mutable, which we'll get to. There's masculine and feminine. And so I'm not just going to, thanks Angelica, I'm not just going to say like, here's Aries. We are going to be learning Aries is associated with Mars, which is associated with, you know, fire, which is associated, you know, so we're going to be learning everything together instead of breaking it down, because that's the easiest way for me to teach it and I feel to learn. Why learn the same thing 4 or 5 times when you could just learn it all at once? So I recommend, if you guys don't already have a notebook and some writing utensils, that you take a pause and you go and grab them, because it will be nice to have notes to go back to if you do choose so. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about is I will be talking about the positives and the challenges to each energy. And when I mean energy, I mean the planets and the signs and everything. So when we are talking about the challenges of an energy, please do not take anything personally. That's it. I'll leave it at that. I am not calling you out. I am not trying to make you bad and wrong. I am not saying that you have to be this way. We're talking about the general known properties of each energy. And there's always dualities. There's always opposites, and there's always, you know, two sides to everything, if not more. So please, if I'm talking about Scorpio and we're really heavily focusing on, you know, they can be very secretive and very intense and can tend to be manipulative, you know, that doesn't mean that I'm calling you manipulative or whatever. I'm just talking about the general energy. Are we on the same page? I hope we're on the same page. The other thing is, when I said birth charts, we are talking about what this looks like. Okay, a lot of you might already have your birth chart or your natal chart, or you might have tried and you don't know. I'm going to quickly go over what this is because it'll make a lot of sense. We're going to be learning how to read this along the way. So in astrology, there's really 2 main things that you can study or focus on. There is your main natal chart or birth chart. What this is a, basically, to put it in layman's terms, it's a snapshot of where all of the planets were in the sky opposed to where you were on the earth when you took your first breath, okay? So what you'll need to get a birth chart, if you do not have one already, is you will need your birthday, which I'm sure you know. I'm excited for this because I really resonate with my sun sign and how it is talked about. Maybe I can finally see myself as a Libra. Yay! Yes, you definitely will. We'll get into that. So for your birth chart, you will need your birthday, which again, I'm sure you know, your location of birth as close as you can get it. So, you know, Michigan probably won't cut it. It'll probably be close for me, but saying that I was born, you know, in such city will help pinpoint it even more. And then you will need your time of birth, your exact time of birth, which a lot of people do not have. You can check your birth certificates, you can ask your mom, but she probably won't know to the minute, but you can get close enough. A lot of people don't have their times on their birth chart, their birth certificate. So I'm sorry, the only thing that I can suggest to you if you are in this situation is to get as close to that hour as possible or that minute as possible as you think. And you'll have to find, you can go online and Google and just type in free birth chart and plug in your information and do the best you can, have it pop up. Look at where the ascendant is, which is on the left side here. Mine is Virgo. And read about that and see if that resonates with you. It does change depending on the hour or the minute even, and so you'll just have to play around, unfortunately, unless you have like a really good astrologer that can help you chart it out. So I felt like that was very important to talk about, because it is nice. If you're learning astrology, it's helpful to learn about your own chart while we're talking about this, because I will bring things up like your rising, your moon, your, you know, where your Mars is and the houses. We're going to be covering all that. If you can't get your birth chart, it's okay, but it might be helpful for you to do that. Will that be our homework? Yeah, I don't know what the homework's going to be specifically yet, so I might just come up with it, but I feel like that's probably a good homework to have, is to try to get your birth chart if you don't already have it. It doesn't matter to me, I don't care, but it will be beneficial to you. It makes it more fun, and it makes it more concrete when you can actually associate it with you when we're going over it. Again, you don't need it. So when I'm talking about a natal chart, when I'm talking about a birth chart, and I will be referencing back to mine as examples, that is what that is. It is a snapshot of where all of the planets were opposed to me when I took my first breath. Known to man, there is no two identical charts. I don't quote me on this number, but I believe that it takes 250,000 years for someone to have the exact same chart as you, to be born in the same exact location at a time in which the planets could be at the same spot as you. And even twins are born seconds or minutes apart, which will shift planets, because the planets never stop. They keep on moving. So there never is, there never was, and there probably will never be anybody like you. So when you have a chart like this, it is specific to you, and it is unique to you, and this is you at your core, at your center. This is your essence in astrology. Now, the second part, which is something that we will not get to probably this month, but is worth talking about. What if two people are born in the same place at the same moment? Their charts, well, you can't, technically. I mean, you can, but you can't. If you have a very specific chart that's like, sorry, I got distracted for a second. Phoebe, get down. George is here to pick up some stuff in the kitchen. So you cannot technically have the same chart. I mean, if you're not locating it pinpoint to the exact location, yeah, you're gonna have people that are very close to the same chart as you, if not the exact. But if this is done properly, there will be slight differences. And that just means that you could have someone that has a lot of similarities as you. Like I said, twins. Twins are born same location, same day, but could be born minutes apart, or, you know, in that. We're not going to stay on this for too long. Just know that if you have your birth chart, this is you at your core, at your essence, and this is this never changes. This is you for this lifetime. And in astrology, we are taught that this is what your soul chose to live in, that you gained these energies and these signs to help you in your soul's evolution. Okay, so in astrology, we do believe in reincarnation. If you don't believe in reincarnation, that's cool too. But it does rely on, with the north nodes and the south nodes, with that. Okay, we're getting a little off. I just feel like I needed to talk about that. It's very important. The second element that I said that we're not going to get to right now, but that we will in the future, hopefully, is transits, which deal with the planets continuously moving in the sky and how they affect us, our natal chart. Now, I'm sorry, I'm like so distracted. He's talking on the phone in the kitchen. So that's how astrologers use it as a predictive sense. Okay, so they're looking at their client or their natal chart, and they're able to track, let's say Saturn, for instance, is going to be transiting, let's say it's going to be shifting into Libra, right? And somebody's sun is in Libra. Well, if it's the same degree as their sun, that planet is going to affect that person in a specific way. Okay, if that makes sense. There's two elements. There's reading a birth chart and knowing your stable birth chart energies. And then the planets are continuously moving and allowing us to interact with them in specific ways. Okay, so those are the two things. Right now, we're going to be dealing with just the basics. We're going to be learning the sun signs and going through them and learning all the houses and all of that together. The other thing I want to talk about is the glyphs. I feel like it's very important for us to learn the glyphs along with it, like I said, and the glyphs are just the symbols that are used to summarize the zodiac signs and the planets. So I will be teaching you those, and I highly recommend you pay attention to them, because often in other areas of either divination or metaphysics, a lot of tarot decks have astrological glyphs on them. So if you learn it in that sense, it is easier translated into other things. Okay, so we'll be going over the glyphs. Again, I recommend you have a notebook and pencil or something to write with. This is not a joke. This is not to be taken lightly. I will not be teaching this in a willy-nilly sense. I hope that you all can take the mindset of this is soul stuff we're learning here, and it's a responsibility to be able to communicate and to interact with people about astrology in a mindful way. So this is not to go around and try and figure everybody out and use it against them. It is not to tell people what they should and shouldn't do or what they need to do. It's your responsibility to provide information to other people and let them use it how they need to use it, which is what I'm going to try my best to do. But I really hope that you know that this is not, that I take this very seriously, and I hope that you do too. I think that's everything getting into it. Oh, just so you know, yes, okay, good, Angelica. I'm glad that you guys are on the same page. So just so you know, in astrology, the sun and the moon are considered planets. And so I will be referring to them throughout this series as planets. So if you hear me say the planet moon, obviously we don't typically consider the moon a planet, but that is what in astrology we consider it. We do not count the Earth as something in the chart because it's our home planet, so you won't see the Earth anywhere in there. The Earth is a part of the entire birth chart. Okay, those are some things. We will be covering more heavily the sun, the moon, and the rising. But let's just, I guess, get right into it. I think that's everything. Does anybody have any questions before we begin about the things that I just spoke about? Because I don't want to get too off topic. Let me get my notes together while you guys, if you have any questions, you can open up to the book. No questions? Okay, good. All right, guys. So I am not going to really go over the introduction because I feel, okay, will this be kept uploaded after the live is finished? Of course it will, Starlight Tarot. I feel like it'd be a big waste of my energy if I didn't. What website do you recommend to find a birth chart? I think there's two. I think there's Cafe Astrology is a pretty good one. And then there's one other, I can't remember. And so just go to Google and type in free birth chart, and it's one of the first two that pop up. I missed that comment. Angelica says, how many months do you think this will take? I don't know. I know it's going to take us at least 4 weeks to get through the sun signs, but when we do that, like I said, we're going to be covering the houses and the houses and the planets associated with it and the glyphs. And so instead of taking and then learning that again, we're learning it all together. So I would say about 2 months, maybe more, if we feel like we need to go into it. I would like to take a whole week and just talk about Mercury retrograde. I would like to, so for the first 4 weeks, we're going to be going over the basics of the energies. We're going to be doing 3 a week. So does that answer? Thanks, Sammy, for the suggestion. Okay, yeah, so it's going to take us at least this month to get through the basics. And then as we're moving forward, we'll probably dive in deeper as we see fit. Again, I'd like to say Mercury retrograde is one whole week because people freak out about it. And I'd like to set some things straight and really properly make you understand what it is and how it's beneficial for us. I'd like to get into specifically, the risings and the moons, which I'm sure we'll dabble in along the way. But yeah, okay. Any other questions before we start? Good. Okay, we're not going to go into the introduction because, like I said, I just gave you kind of my introduction. I wanted you just to read the introduction to kind of get a feel of the introduction of how this book is and how they write things. So we're going to go to, yay, I'm excited you're joining on this journey as well. I feel at this moment a little overwhelmed just because, like, I want to make sure I'm doing it in a good way, which I'm sure that I will, but it's a lot of information that I really want to do properly. So I am on page 3 in the sun signs section. I know, thank you so much, Bunny. But you have to understand, I learned this from my grandmother. So she is a spiritual badass, and like just doing it justice in the way that she was able to teach me feels like a big project, So I'm gonna do great. I'm gonna do the best I can for you guys, and I hope that we have fun in this journey. So, okay, so I'm on the page. Don't be overwhelmed. We trust you. Thank you so much. You guys are so sweet. So, the sun sign on page 3. I have a couple things highlighted from when I read this years ago when I had this, and I was taught this same exact verbiage. So what I mean about sun signs is where we're starting this journey is. Almost everybody should know their sun sign already. It's what's your sign? Oh, I'm a Gemini. Oh, I'm a Taurus. Oh, I'm a Virgo. Oh, I'm a Cancer. That is your sun sign. It is from our viewpoint here on Earth, the sun travels around the Earth once each year. Within the space of that year, the sun moves through all 12 signs of the zodiac, spending approximately 1 month in each sign. The sign that the sun was traveling through at the time of your birth is your sun sign. Hi, Sam. Hello. Got my notebook ready for class. Hi, Victoria Lynn. Good. We're just beginning with the sun signs. I did give a lot of you guys needed to hear my little spiel in the beginning about all my main points. So you might want to watch the replay if I don't answer a question you're typing because I probably already answered it. Sam, I'm going to be counting on you to help me with the comment sections because I just got to keep rolling to get to everything. It says, the sun is our most powerful planet. In astrological terms, the sun is referred to as a planet, even though, like the moon, it is actually a luminary. Then it goes down to, I'm going down to the next paragraph. It says, I often liken your sun sign to the role you've been given in your grand drama. You are the leading actor in this drama, and the role you are acting is your sun sign. And this is the way that my grandmother taught it to me. And I'm going to show you my birth chart to put it in perspective for you. So, for any of you out there who have said, I don't relate to my sun sign, here is why you might feel that way. Here is my birth chart. Here's all the energies that comprise up me, right? Here, it's not focusing. Here, this one little thing right here, this little guy right here is my sun sign. Everything else is still a part of me, but the sun is very important. Like it says, if you think about your soul or your personality or your birth chart as a play or a movie, your sun sign is the lead actor. And Without it, you can still have a show, but it's not as complex and interesting, and along the way, the sun sign has to interact with the other energies. So you might have a sun sign that is one thing, but you got 3 or 4 other planets in a house of the same thing, and it really stands out more than your sun sign. So it's not to say that you aren't your sun sign, but it could be more influenced by the rest of the things in your chart. Focus on me. Focus on me. Okay. Oh my gosh, it won't focus on me. Okay. So your sun sign is the lead actor. Without the lead actor, it's chaos. So you need your sun sign, but it is not the only thing that makes up you. Okay? All right. So that's really all I'm going to say, because we're going to get right into it. If you go to, which I already kind of talked about on page 5, it goes over the other components in which I said we're going to be learning all together for each energy. So there's dualities, such as the masculine and the feminine. Each sign has either a masculine or a feminine energy. And so we'll be going over that as we break it down. Each sign has triplicities. So each sign has an element. They're either fire, earth, water, or air. Just like in tarot, if you know tarot. And then quadruplicities, which are 3 qualities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. And then there's polarities. So there's opposites in the zodiac. And on a birth chart, to make it easy to understand too, they are across from each other on the birth chart. So the second house here of Taurus is the opposition of the 8th house in Scorpio. Same thing, same thing. That's what, and it doesn't mean that they're the opposites of each other. Technically, they are very similar, but they deal with different things, such as Gemini and Sagittarius are oppositions. They are both about learning and teaching and, information, except Gemini is more so about the student, as Sag is about the teacher. Gemini is nearsighted, Sagittarius is farsighted, but it's still around. Gemini is short distance travels, Sagittarius is long distance travels. So they're oppositions in that sense, but it doesn't mean that they are like, do you know what I'm saying? Okay, you guys got what I'm saying. Now, to put this all together, the masculine, feminine, the element, the quality, the polarity, the planet, the house, all of that makes up the energies, and no sign is exactly the same. That's why there's the different energies. Okay? All right. So let's start with Aries. Finally. Yes! We're less than a half hour in and we're actually starting. I really thought I was going to drag that out a lot longer. I want to make sure that you guys understand what we're doing and that you understand my beliefs around it. Yay! Okay, so we are starting with Aries. Let me go here. Do you guys have notebooks? Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm going to show you the notebook in which Michaela learned what I'm teaching you about a month ago. Okay, so this is her notebook. Yes, Valcoria says yes. So here is her notebook. Do you see how it's color coded? You see how each sign is color coded? You don't have to do that, but it is helpful, and it was helpful for her because when she was recalling things in her mind, when I was testing her on things like which sign is, connected with the moon, what sign is ruled by the moon, she would remember writing it and what color it was in, and it was easier for her to be like, okay, that was in blue, and blue was Cancer. Oh yeah, it's Cancer. So just a little tip, if you guys want, after you're done, if you don't have colored markers right now, you could go back and redo it. It was easier for her to color code each sign. Okay, so this was her notes. I'm working off my knowledge, the book. I think I'll have to rewatch the replay and take notes. That's okay. It's all right. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it as organized as possible, but we are covering a ton of stuff. So we're starting with Aries. Oh, yeah, I want you guys to learn the glyphs, so I will be writing them down. Let me take a page here. So this is the glyph for Aries. So write this down. This is Aries. It's in the book, but if you don't have the book and you're watching without it, that is the glyph or the symbol for Aries. Aries is ruled by the planet Mars. This is the glyph for Mars. Or a lot of you might already be familiar because this is really known as like the masculine glyph. Why isn't my camera focusing? I'm not sure. Sorry, guys. Okay, so those are the glyphs. It does say it again in the book, at least for Aries. It has the glyph in there. Aries is from March 21st to April 19th. It is a masculine energy. Its triplicity, or the element, is fire. The quality is cardinal. And again, we talked about the ruling planet, Mars. We'll get more into that. The symbol is the ram. So each of the signs have like a, I don't want to say an animal, I want to say just like a symbol. The dominant keywords are I am. If you have this book and you're taking notes, you know, this is right out of the book here, but I'm going to be adding to it, so it still is helpful if you are taking notes. The polarity is Libra. The parts of the body that are ruled by Aries are the head. Aries people are really prone to headaches and injuries of the face or the head. So if you had a lot of concussions as a child, chances are you have an Aries ascendant, or you have, you know, Mars in the first house of your chart. Let's see, any of the other, all of this other stuff is relevant. I just don't want to get really into it here. Danger. Aries people are susceptible to harm from fire and sharp instruments. They are also prone to accidents involving high speed and tend to get into violent and dangerous situations. That seems really intense, but it's also pretty valid. So let me go over here to the notes. When we are talking about Aries, we are talking about a masculine fire energy with a cardinal quality. We are also talking about the first house in your chart. Hi Paper Bits, how are you, love? So this is your first house in your natal chart, and it is associated with the energies of Mars and with Aries. All the same thing here, people. So Aries is quick. It is aggressive. It is athletic. It is passionate. They are natural born leaders. They are very outgoing and energetic. It is one of the signs linked to sex, but it is more so the act of sex than it is the connection of the romantic sense of joining of the two humans. It is more about the physical sense of sex. It is a very physical energy. It can be forceful. It can tend to be hot-headed. It could tend to rush into things. It could be impatient. And all of these seem overwhelming, like it might be challenging energies, but if you think about it in a sense of, you might have somebody who has a lot of earth and who has a lot of fixed qualities and doesn't like change, fixed. The Aries, I made a little rant a little while ago about when Mercury was last in retrograde in Aries and how it was beneficial to me, because I lack a lot of that just get up and go, just get up and do it, that like almost like angry passion, that like aggressive like make things happen. I have a hard time with that. So if you're looking at it in a negative sense, that's what you're looking at it in. But to be quick and aggressive and energetic and forceful is really good qualities to have if they're used in the right way. Keywords are assertive, I am. They're very competitive. Is it weird that I associate Aries with the Slytherin house? No, it's not. I would say I would associate it with more so the Gryffindor house. Ooh, my ears ringing so bad. When I read this, I thought of my son, who is Aries and very active ADHD. Yes, that could definitely be the qualities of Aries. I would say maybe mixed with Gemini. If you have Aries mixed with Gemini, you probably have a child that has a very hard time focusing their energy and mind together. So again, it's like get their birth chart and it'll make a little bit more definitive sense. So a lot of the times our Aries people are athletes, or they like to use their physical bodies in some sense. The color associated with Aries is red. Mars is the god of war. It's really action and it's quick. It's that match. It's really the fire energy. If you guys are familiar with tarot and you're talking about the suit of the wands, it is like fire to a T. It is like quick and passionate and leader and go get, and I don't have time to wait. But it is also in a very me sense, okay? Because there's other fire signs in the zodiac that have that energy but that are using it towards other things, and Aries is very, what about me? This is me, this is mine, I'm in charge, I care about what I want and what, and again, it just cut me off. Are you guys still there? I don't know what happened. It just cut me off. Are you still there? Please let me know what happened. I'm so sorry. It cut me off. Are you there? I'm sorry. Where are you? Somebody say, okay, sorry. I have no idea what happened. So Aries energy is like, don't you talk bad about me. Okay, so I really stopped talking as soon as it like went out. Hopefully we don't have any more issues. So Aries is aggressive. They are the athletes. They are the warriors. They are the get up and do. They are the starters. It is new beginnings. It is would we say that Aries is associated with the summer months? Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. I would say it's more so spring into summer. It's like that beginning, because it's March to April. And also, I mean, you can associate it with more so the beginning into the summer months. I would say Leo is probably more information. Sorry, I'm getting text messages and calls and stuff from work. I got this. Let me take a break. I would say Aries is more associated with the spring and new beginnings and starting things from the winter months coming into the new beginnings. Does that make sense? Whereas like the fire energy, the next fire energy we'll talk about, Leo, that is more associated with the summer months. Okay. So, Aries energy can tend to be very restless. And something that is beneficial for a lot of the Aries people in my life, or the people who have their main energies in Aries or the first house, is physical exertion. Um, if you are someone that really thinks better and moves through your day better with physical exercise, I mean, we all do to some extent, but I have a friend who, if she does not physically work out, then she slips into a state of anxiety and depression, and because she has a need to move and use her body. Whereas someone with more of Taurus energy, you know, exercise is still good, but like, I like to relax kind of thing. And I got my moon in Taurus, so, you know, it's not as a necessity for my mental state to, you know, hang out on the treadmill. But for my friend, she absolutely needs to be in some sort of sport or some sort of exercise routine to keep herself in her energy used in a certain way. Because you have to think, like, Aries is like this ball of wound up energy and like aggression and passion and wanting to move forward and do things. And if they don't, or they don't have the ability to exert it in some sort of way that is, you know, beneficial, like working out, it doesn't have to be exactly working out, it could be, you know, in coaching something. It's about the, you know, it's about it. If they don't use it in a positive manner or in a manner that is beneficial to them, it could end up in a volatile, explosive, and aggressive manner that is not beneficial to them or other people around them. So I liked this. This is the amusing little prayer for Aries is grant me patience now. They want things immediate. They are not patient. They are not waiting to see what happens. They are like, give it to me now. I want instant gratification. And again, if you are thinking about this in a negative sense, I feel like there's some signs where when I talk, people automatically are like, oh, that sounds bad. Like, I don't like that. But if you are thinking of it in a sense of like, let's balance out all the other energies. There's a cardinal. There's literally a cardinal right outside the window. Okay, bring it back, Gemini. Bring it back. Then it is beneficial to the other polar energies in the zodiac that can't get their butts up and moving, or that can't make a freaking decision. Aries is there like, no, we're not waiting on you. We're doing this right now. This is how it's going, and I'm in charge, and we do as I want to do. It's my way or the highway. That's really Aries. And I wouldn't say that they're as stubborn in their ideals as some of the other energies are, because they're not a fixed sign, they're a cardinal. So they're active, they're energetic, they're excitable, they're impulsive, optimistic, open to change and new experiences. Aries loves a change. It loves a challenge. It loves new things and new beginnings. And they want it done their way. They want it done now. But if they can't get it, they would rather change their ideas and do something else in a different way rather than sit and ponder or try to figure out, or like, you know, they don't care. They're like, fine, just like, let's do it. We'll do it this way, but it was my idea, you know? So it's more so about they have to keep their energy moving. Now we're going to talk about, for each sign, we're going to be talking about the qualities of the moon and the rising briefly, and then we can get back into things when we get back. I'd like to have a whole live stream dedicated to just moon signs, and then one dedicated just to rising signs. But I'd like to, you know, hit on certain things about each while we go through. So your moon sign, let me pull out the birth chart here. Your moon sign is another quality of the chart right here. And your moon sign is how you deal with your emotions. It is how you express yourself. It is quite possibly your natural diet that you typically like gravitate towards. And it is how you view your mother. So, we'll get to that. Just know that those are key things about the moon. It's how you express yourself. It's how you emotionally deal with your energies. is how, yeah, okay. Your moon is your emotions. So for Aries, if you have a moon in Aries, which a lot of people know their moon, sun, and rising, but if you don't, again, you can find it out from your birth chart. But if you have a moon in Aries, or if your moon is in the first house of Aries, of Mars and Aries, same thing. This is why we're learning it all together. So your moon being in Aries is the same sort of energies as it being in the first house. Okay, I feel like I might be losing some of you, but if not, good. So my moon is in Taurus. So you would say my moon is in Taurus. I have the qualities of a Taurus moon, but my Taurus is in the 8th house of Scorpio. So it also takes on the energies of Scorpio. So when you're looking at your birth chart, take into a factor what planet that is in, or what sign the planet is in, but also where it is at in your birth chart. So that's what I mean when I say if you have Aries in the first house, or if your moon is in Aries. Wait, did I say that right? If your moon is in the first house, or if it is in Aries, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, cool. I'll probably have to explain that a couple more times. But so moon in Aries would mean that you're emotionally dealing with things in this type of way. So typically you make up you feel things very quickly. You want instant emotional connection. And just as quickly as you want it, you are then as quick to move on. Okay, so unless you have some sort of really earthy, grounded other energies in your main areas, you probably don't have a lot of emotional ties to things. You are pretty quick with your feelings of either liking somebody or not liking somebody, or reacting to a situation. You're not going to take your time to get to know, like, how do I feel about this? Do I? Don't I? I'm not sure. I'm not, it's like, nope, this is how I feel about it. This is how I feel, and this is how I'm going to act on it. That is a typical energy of having a moon in Aries. Another thing would be the more obvious energy of a moon in Aries, which I grew up with a father with a moon in Aries, and also am dating a man with a moon in Aries. So I definitely know this energy and its benefits and its challenges. So I have my moon in Taurus, which is what we just talked about. They're very opposite. So someone with a moon in Aries, you have a moon in Aries, so you are spot on. Good. So for someone with a moon in Aries, it is typical, think of Aries as a match, okay? Light it, it's on. Blow it out, it's over, okay? But fire can do a lot of damage in a very small time. It can burn you instantly. It can light you up instantly. It can also go out instantly. So when you think about somebody using their emotions, such as maybe getting angry about something, typically people with a moon in Aries or with their moon in the first house are very quick and hot-headed and aggressive in the way that they tend to react to situations, such as, everything could be fine in the car ride onto an event that we have with the kids. Everything is fine, everything is going well, and then something happens and my boyfriend is from 0 to 100 and using his scary dad voice and just like Aries, okay? It is like aggressive and this is how it is and here's how I feel, very passionately, very strong, very aggressive, and then do you understand? Yes, good. And we're done. And I'm sitting here going, okay, I won't forget about this for months. But it's like as quick as it was on, it is over. And this isn't just for moon in Aries. This is a good way to just describe Aries and Mars and the first house in general. but it's a little bit more obvious in that specific circumstance when it is in the moon, when it is in the moon areas, because that's how you're emotionally handling things. My son, same way, easygoing, and teen hormones, Aries. Oh yeah, so now you got it like even more so because the hormones are going, so sorry. But just know that if he learns and grows up to use that energy in a good way, it's really beneficial. It's a really beneficial tool to have. Because our next sign that we'll talk about, and I don't know if I'm done with Aries yet, but the next sign we'll talk about, you'll see how Aries energy could be really beneficial in opposed or vice versa to another sign, which the next one would be Taurus, which I love, by the way. I love all the signs, all of the things, all of the planets and houses equally because they're good in their own way, and if used at the certain right times or in the certain circumstances, I cannot stop fidgeting. I'm sorry. So just know that. I'm not, again, don't take anything personally. Don't call anybody out. Again, each sign, each planet rules a part of the body. So just remember that. In an ascendant sense or a rising, same thing. I learned the terminology ascendant, but most people know it as your rising. So we're going to talk briefly here about the rising so that when we go through the rest of the signs, when I'm talking about it, you'll know what I mean and I can recap a bit, but I don't want to keep saying the same things over and over again if possible. So right here on your chart, which would be, I don't know if it's going to come up backwards for you guys, but it is going to be the left middle side of your birth chart. This is where you're determining where your rising sign is or where your ascendant. Most people know their sun, their moon, and ascendant because it's most talked about. Everything is important, but the three main energies people normally know or talk about are the sun, the moon, and ascendant. So we talked about sun in Aries, we talked about moon in Aries, or the moon in the first house, or the first house in general, and now we're talking about the ascendant or rising in Aries. So what your rising or ascendant sign is, this is the way that I was taught it, and I don't know any better way to describe it than this. So let's say you're a vanilla ice cream cone. That's your sun and the rest of your energies too. So your moon's in there, your Mars, your Venus, Saturn's in there, all that stuff, right? When you were born, you chose to get dipped in chocolate and have a hard shell, right? So your ascendant and your rising is your outer shell, what people first see when they meet you. It is how you start things. It is how you begin things. It is how you come off to people in the beginning. Okay? Because when you see that ice cream cone, you're like, oh yeah, I wonder what's inside of there. I mean, it might be dripping down the side a little bit. Someone might be like, you're a Leo. But like, there's something else in there, you know? So there, you know what I mean? Your outer shell, or how you physical appearance, that's why if you stick 100 Virgos in a room together, there might be some similarities between them, but they could look extremely different. You stick 100 Virgo risings in the same room, I guarantee they look very similar or have a lot more in common, because your rising and your ascendant is how you come off to people, and it's your physical appearance. It is, you know, your first glance impression. Now, if your rising sign is the same as your sun, you come off exactly how you are. It is like, hey, I love Virgo so much, but yeah, every Virgo are different. Yep, I'm a Pisces rising. Great. Okay, so if you are a Aries sun with an Aries ascendant, that's just what you chose to come in. You're like, listen, I want everyone to know I am an Aries. This is what I am. And 9 times out of 10, if that's what it is, you have your sun and your rising, you probably connect with that sign a lot more. For somebody sitting at home right now going like, I never really, connected with my Capricorn. Well, you could have a moon in Taurus and a ascendant in Taurus, and then some other things in Taurus, like I said. So it's like, you might not know that about yourself, but it's harder to ignore those energies, and they're taking over your sun a little bit. So that's what your ascendant is. It's going to rule your physical appearance, how you start things, how you come off to people. And so for the energy of Aries or Mars as a rising or ascendant sign, typically they have very athletic builds, athletic bodies. They could have, I would say they could have a larger head, because it rules the head. Again, they're prone to injuries of the head and the face. So if you had a child, I mean, all children kind of fall and hit their head a lot, but if you had a child that was like more so falling and hitting their head other than other parts of their body, there's a good chance that, again, they have an Aries ascendant, or they have something like Mars in their first house. So that is typical Aries. This isn't for every case, but most of the time, if you see someone with red hair, or you see someone that is like always wearing red, like you have like a red truck, and you always wear a red hat, and you have like red shirts that you wear all the time, like, or you know, you have like, you're always wearing like muscle shirts or athletic sports jerseys, or you know, you're typically somebody who likes, you know, CrossFit, and you're always in your CrossFit wear over everything else, chances are that's a good sign or spot of Aries energy, particularly with the ascendant or the rising, because it's how they're coming off to people. Okay, so that is, just, there's so much I feel like I could say, but I feel like that's a good basis for Aries. Just know that they are really about me first. They are really about the self, the ego. Again, if you think that that's bad, that's on you, because it could be very beneficial in accordance to other energies. But it is really like new beginnings, quick energy, fire, aggressive, athletic. They can be impatient and hot-headed, but they're passionate and they're competitive, and they're very... they're good with change, but it is really about the self. I need some me first energy. Same. And I've ranted about it a little bit before, and I'm sure I will again at some point. So we're going to move on. Does anybody have any questions or things before we move on that they'd like to say specifically about Aries, about the first house, about Mars? Quick question, on a birth chart, the numbers 1 through 12, those are the houses, right? Correct. So on your birth chart, it's hard for me to show you because it keeps like getting blurry when I put it close. So you'll see that this is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Sorry, I'm looking through my phone, so it's hard. So we just dealt with the first house, number 1. The first house is ruled the same energies as Aries, as Mars. And remember our glyphs, our glyph for Aries is this, and this is Mars. So I have, I can't see the sign, I think it's Cancer as my ascendant. What did it say? So I have Cancer as my ascendant in number 1. Okay, so see this right here? These are all the planets, right? So I don't have anything in my first house, but my ascendant Virgo here is coming into the first house. So you could technically read this energy, Virgo, as it being in the first house, but we're not going to get there. We're not going to get there yet. So really all you need to know is this sign right here is right on your ascendant. That's going to show you your ascendant. So whatever this is written right here, that's your rising or your ascendant. Okay, so then what you would do is you would look in your first house. If there's any planets there, then you would read that as in the energies of Aries, as well as whatever the sign is in that planet. Okay, I know. I'm really trying not to go too deep into that yet. I'm really just trying to give you the basis because we can go into more detail about it, but it's easier to kind of hit it along the way so that when we get to it, you're not just like, what? So You're welcome, Heather. So, hi, Kayla. So that would be my first house. Yes, the first house. I'd have to see your birth chart. I'm gonna move on. So, that was Aries. Does anybody have any questions about Aries? Or the first house, or Mars? Does anyone want to say anything? Maybe that I might have forgotten if you know. If not, cool. All right, we're gonna move on. We are going to move on to Taurus. Not to be like playing favorites, but Taurus is one of my favorite energies, but it also gets me in kind of some trouble. So, as I've already mentioned, my moon is in Taurus, which means I deal with my emotions, like we talked about, in a Taurus Venus sense. Yeah, you for sure need your correct time of birth. Yeah, it helps. It's very difficult to come up with your natal chart or your birth chart without your time. It can be done, but it does need some time to play around or to do a little research. And I'm sorry for all of you out there who can't just snap your fingers and get your birth chart. But just work on learning the basics so that if ever you do get it, does Taurus Venus sense mean you don't deal with your feelings at all? Because me, we'll get to that, Sam. Okay, so yes and no. Someone said Tauruses are gentle. Sometimes. It depends. Are you waving that final red flag in front of their faces? Because if they're going to charge, they're not going to be gentle. So let's start from the beginning. Okay, so where is my pen so I can show you the glyphs? This is the sign or the glyph of Taurus. Oh, also there are there are 4 signs that share planets, right? So Taurus, hey, there are 4 signs that share planets, so they're doubled. And one of them is Gemini and Virgo both share the planet of Mercury, and Libra and Taurus both share the planet of Venus. So you'll see that we talk about Taurus being ruled by Venus, but also Libra is ruled by Venus. So don't let that confuse you, unless I just already did. This is the glyph for Taurus. All right, it's a big circle with a little hook on the top like a bull, like horns on a bull. The planet, again, that rules Taurus, or that is ruled by Taurus, that rules Taurus is Venus, which is this. Okay? Which, again, you guys might know that sign as well because it is typically the sign of the feminine. The masculine is the Aries symbol and feminine is Venus. That's not the end-all, be-all masculine and feminine, but those are like modernly used as like those symbols. But Venus is that symbol and then Taurus. I think I'm doing okay. I think I'm doing good. I will not be watching the playback of this. I don't really watch the playbacks, but sometimes I'll go back and I'll like make sure that it looks okay to upload, if it didn't glitch out or something. I put blueberries in my water and it keeps clogging up the thing so I can't get a drink. All right, guys. Thank you for the encouragement, Sam. So we're moving on to Taurus. One of my favorite signs, just because it's a big part of me. You're doing amazing. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that. I already feel a lot better now that we started. I think it was more so like the things in the beginning that I wanted to preface to make sure that you guys understood. And it's just like a lot, as you can see. But once we start to break it down and the more that we hit the points over and over and over again, the easier it is. And once you get it, you get it. And it's like, it's easy peasy and it's so amazing and it's so fun and it's so useful. And it translates over to so many things. I mean, there are like tusks from animals that they have recorded seeing constellations on back some people like to say 32,000 BC. That is how long and old that studying the stars and the planets affecting us is like known to be recorded. Like that is insane to me. And so I just know how much information and how much there is, and to do it in a cohesive way, to me, thinking about it hurt my brain. But getting through it, I'm very happy that we're doing it. So Taurus is ruled by Venus. It is a feminine energy. The element is earth. The quality is fixed. And the symbol is the bull, which we already brought up. The key words for Taurus are I have. So Aries was I am. Very me. This is all about me. What can you do for me? Now, instant gratification. And Taurus is I have. It rules material possessions. It is one of the, some people say 2 money signs. I think there's 4 that my grandma taught me are considered money signs. But to me, I would say Taurus is the most, I don't want to say important, but the most, what am I trying to say? The most noticeable money sign. So we are now talking about the second house. It is the piece of the pie that is labeled with 2 in this area on the left side, if you have your birth chart or you're looking at a birth chart. So when we're describing all of this energy, it goes towards what that means for the second house as well. Okay, keep that in mind. So if you have a planet in the second house, it is going to take on the properties of Taurus as well as whatever the sign that it's in is, okay? So the part of the body that is ruled by Taurus is the neck and the throat. That is very important. Many Taurus people have beautiful speaking and singing voices, but they're vulnerable to colds, laryngitis, sore throats, and thyroid problems. The singing voice to me is, yes, it's something to note, but I wouldn't say it's for everybody. But if you have your Mercury, which rules how you communicate, and your moon in Taurus, I'd say 9 times out of 10, you can at least carry a tune, and you most likely have a very nice singing voice. But if you don't, it doesn't mean that you can't not have a good singing voice too. It's just, this is the part that is ruled by Taurus, is the neck and the throat. If you are having blocks in your energy and you're not using your Taurus energies for the correct manner, you could be prone to headaches because of tightness or knots in the neck, tensions in the neck, like they said, laryngitis, or issues with the throat. I know my 2 things that go first if I'm getting sick is I get a sore throat and I get an earache. And the ears are ruled by Gemini, which is my sun. Anything in dualities, so anything 2 is Gemini. We'll get to that. So, but the first thing is normally if my throat starts to hurt, that's the first sign for me that I am getting run down or getting sick, because I'm very affected by my throat. And for more than one reason, again, we'll get to Gemini next. So, Taurus is, the danger for Taurus people is that they have a tendency to get involved in violent situations that have to do with money or love. They often antagonize others and incite the passions of lovers because of their stubbornness and possessiveness. Okay, take that in. Because those are some key components there. Let's see if there's anything else. The polarity of Taurus is Scorpio. So while Taurus rules personal possessions or material possessions, Scorpio is going to rule possessions as well, but it's going to be in other people's money, other people's finances, other people's possessions. So whereas Taurus is like, I have material possessions, Scorpio's like, I rule or have authority over other people's possessions. That makes sense. Again, that's the kind of idea around polarities where they're not completely opposite, but they have oppositions in their energies. Okay, So let's see, anything else in here that I need to, Taurus is from April 20th to May 20th. We didn't really go over like fixed, cardinal, and mutable. So we already talked about Aries, that is cardinal. So cardinal, because I'm not going to go over the elements. I'm assuming that you guys have some sort of idea around the elements already. And if not, I'm sorry. I just don't want to take the time. But most people don't know about the dualities, or the qualities, I mean. And so cardinal energy, when we're talking about cardinal energy, we're talking about the initiators. They're the starters. They're the outgoing. They're like the get it going. They're the beginners, the starters. Lots that we just talked about with Aries. They're like the extreme version of that. When we're talking about fixed signs, we're talking about people that are set and fixed in their way. That one's pretty easy to understand. They're more resistant to change. If they are on a path, they're sticking with it to the end. And then even maybe a little bit, then some, when they should be going off and doing another thing, because you've already completed that and you're still sticking on this road because you don't want to change. They are the finishers. So that's what we mean by fixed. And then there's mutable. Mutable is they're adaptable, they're changeable, they're flexible, they adjust. And a downside to that is that they can't stick to anything, or that they might be good at starting something, but they're not going to completely carry it through, or they might have an idea or 10 ideas to start things, but they never start one because they can't focus their energy. But they're extremely adaptable. They can mold and mend to any situation or energy. So those are our three qualities that we are talking about. Okay, I don't think I went over that, and I think it's kind of important, and that's that. So Aries quality was cardinal. We went over that. Taurus is fixed. It is the earth energy. It is very grounded. It is very set in its ways. It is very methodical. Taurus is very slow moving, very practical, very security and comfort based. Keywords for Taurus: I have security and comfort, pleasures. They are stable. They are patient. For the most part, they are patient. They are very patient until they're not patient. And that is a very rare occasion. But if you get across a Taurus who becomes impatient, watch the F out. So I would say that the energy of Taurus is not intense. The keyword for that is not going to be intense. That's going to be Scorpio. But Taurus is a very strong energy, but it's a very slow moving, very horizontal type energy. Whereas Aries is like, do. Taurus is like, yeah, let's just chill. Let's just hang out. Let's Netflix in pajamas, eating popcorn. Just saying, I'm in my PJs still. So they're very all about comfort and security. They're hard to let things go. They're the goddess of beauty because it's Venus, and Venus energy with the planet is all about the finer things in life. It is about like the beauties and your luxury. So the other sign that's ruled by Venus uses different aspects of that, or uses it in different ways. The ways that Taurus like it is like, I want to feel comfortable in my home. I want the luxuries and the fine things of life, like a good hearty meal. And I want things like a really nice couch to lay on to feel like I'm being taken care of. You know, I want a secure, comfortable vehicle that gets me through. Or you have a hunk of junk that you haven't been able to let go of for decades because it's still working fine. It runs because you are resistant to change. So there could be, that way of it, either or. Taurus energy is not so much sentimental, but they will hold on to material possessions that they don't use or that they don't need anymore or that are falling apart, like I said with the car, because it makes them feel good, because it makes them feel comforted and secure. So I've gotten better at this as I got older and as I'm aware of my Taurus energy, because like I said, I have a moon in Taurus. So emotionally, I become very attached to my material possessions. So I still do have pieces of clothing in my closet from 20 years ago or whatever that I've had as a kid that like I don't ever wear, but like I just want in there in case I do, because knowing that I still have it makes me feel comfortable, makes me feel secure. Getting rid of it or wearing a shirt that has holes in it and wearing it till the end of time is just something I do because like it still works and it still feels good. I like the feel of it. Oh, that brings me to my next thing about Taurus. That's how I am with clothes and shoes, other things not so much. Right, so it's like, how are you choosing to use these energies? Taurus is all about the senses. So smells, sights, tastes, sounds, all of the things are very important to Taurus. So Taurus would be more likely to buy a piece of clothing. We're just going to stick on, I am like that with emotional attachment to stuff. So there's kind of a fine line here with emotional attachment. So if you have your moon in Taurus, I would say yes, emotional attachment to material possessions could be definitely a quality. But when we get to Cancer, Cancer has a lot of similarities in that, except for Cancer is about the nostalgic thing. They don't care so much about like the security and the comfort, more so that they do about the emotional connection that they have with something. Like, my son sneezed on this once 6 years ago, so I can't let go of it because of the memories and the feelings. That's more so Cancer energy, so there's kind of a fine line here. Taurus is more like, no, I don't give a shit how I got it or where I got it from. It's more so like, I feel really good when I wear it. I don't care that there's holes in it. It makes me feel good, you know? So, but for me, there's a fine line because Cancer is ruled by the moon. So when we are talking about Taurus in a moon sense, like if your moon's in Taurus or you have, you know, your moon is in the second house of Taurus. Do you see what I mean by that now? You could take on emotional connection to material possessions. So that is a big thing with Taurus. They are, every sign is connected to music, but I would say music for Taurus is a good way to comfort them. So when they feel upset or when they feel like angry or when they feel, you know, that they need to be relaxed, they will often use music in a more intense way than the other signs would. Whereas like Aries would use music to like headbang in the car and like to have a good time and to party and to go out and to start things and yeah, like I'm gonna clean the house and I'm gonna do this. But like Taurus is like, all right, I need to feel relaxed, or I need to feel like I am in a good energy, so I'm gonna put on some music. And they might clean their house as well with music, but it's probably going to be jazz, or it's probably going to be, you know, some indie, slower, comforting music, or whatever that is. Okay, I feel like I'm getting off a little bit, but not really. So, material possessions, they are often very drawn to having things, like they have to have certain things. They are very stubborn, very, very stubborn. So think about, now let's keep going a little bit with the Taurus, moon and Taurus. So think about, and I've explained this before in videos, but think about Taurus as an actual bull. Most of the time, Taurus energy is like Ferdinand the Bull, grazing, hanging out, sweet as can be, very slow moving, very quick to get up and start doing things, but like also very grounded and gentle and strong energy, grazing in the grass. But if you think about it in an emotional sense or a reactive sense, there are things that will set Taurus off. So most of the time it takes a very long, slow moving way of them to finally react to something, which is how I tend to react. So we talked about Moon and Aries, my boyfriend. Now we're going to talk about Moon and Taurus, me. I will get a little angry at something. I'll be like, wow, that really bothered me. Oh, I wish they wouldn't do this, or I wish that this would be like this, or I can't believe this, right? And I might think it to myself and I might not say it out loud because I'm still grazing in my grass. I'm still doing my thing. You know, it doesn't really involve me, and that would mean I have to do something about it. So, like, I'm just going to hang out. It's fine. Then it keeps happening over and over and over again in different ways, or something else bothers me, or, you know, I let that build up and I let it pent, and then I'm snorting, and now I'm kicking my heels up, I'm flicking my tail, and finally, maybe even months later, something will happen, and that red flag or that red cape will be flown in my face, and I will charge. I will fly off the handle, and I know this about myself. When I get angry, I get unstoppable angry. Or not even just angry, but like emotional. When I start crying, there is no stopping me, because chances are I probably could have cried 8 times before I did cry. So everything's coming out at once. It's like I hold it back. I wait too long to emote and wait too long to react to things, so that when I finally do, it is big time. So when you raise that red flag, when you get me charged, I am running through the streets. I'm plowing anybody over that I need to get my feelings out, or to get my word heard, or to do what I need to do to get it done. I am very stubborn, and I have it. But the downside to that, well, that obviously you can hear the downside to that, is that it's not the most, I don't know the word I'm looking for. You know, it can be beneficial, because once I finally get it out, it's very nice to get it out. Or once I finally deal with it, it is really nice to finally deal with it. But also, it's really vital for the other people around you that are now going, oh my God, what is wrong with you? All we did was tell you, you know, that we forgot to bring your lunch to whatever. We left you out of this. But it's like everything's coming out all at once because I waited too long to deal with X, Y, and Z. And now that I'm mad, I might as well talk about this here that made me mad and how it's reacting to all of this. So that is sort of the energy. No, that's not sort of. That's a very relatable Taurus energy, specifically too in the moon sense, or if your moon is in the second house of Taurus, because it's relating to your emotions and how you deal with your emotions. This could also be linked to the planet Mars, if you have planet Mars in your house, the second house of Taurus, because Mars is, it's like explained as like your gas pedal, because remember, Mars is associated with Aries, so it's also like your anger, your aggressive, how you start things as well. So if you have Taurus and Aries in the second house, it could be kind of relating to some of the things that I'm saying. Let me think if there's anything else. Yeah, Taurus is really about the senses. They care a lot about comfort foods. So if you're a Taurus, or if you have your moon in Taurus, because remember we said moon is really a lot of where you can find maybe people's diets. Comfort foods, so maybe foods that your mom used to make you, or that like make you feel really, really full and taken care of, like potatoes, mashed potatoes, red skin potatoes, fries, things like that, chips, hearty sandwiches, paninis, like things that are very like full, comforting, filling foods. That is Taurus. I was literally just thinking potatoes, all the potatoes. Yeah. I'm the same way, and my stepsister Ashley has her moon in Taurus, and she's the same way too. Like, my mom had to make extra mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving because my sister and I, our main meal would be mashed potatoes. You can see how it was very difficult as a child to keep weight off me. Pasta for me, yep, same thing. Comforting, very filling, comfort foods, mac and cheese, stuff like that. And don't we all love it? But it's more so like, if we had our first pick, my best friend Allison, double Virgo with an Aquarius moon, her first pick is not going to be the mashed potatoes and the paninis and the, you know, the hearty meals like that. Hers is probably going to be like fish, salmon, or a nice clean salad. And I've had to work very, very hard to make the right choices for myself, to make sure that I'm still getting the proper nutrition, and I still make a lot of hearty, comforting meals, but I'm making sure that they're consisting of other things. Okay, anyways, we're getting off topic. So, stubborn, some of the good things with being stubborn or fixed for Taurus is like, when they're in a relationship or when they're in a job, like, they're in it. They're in it to win it. They are, like, once they feel like they've found a place that they feel good in and that, you know, they're set in their ways. They're really, like, long-term relationships, typically, like, in the home that they're in for a long period of time, if they can, if by choice they would. You know, things happen or situations happen or transits happen that force you to have to move or whatever, but if you, naturally they would be staying in the same fixed position, same job, same relationship, same home, same car, same wardrobe, you know, all the things. And when they do change things, it's like a big effing deal. And that's really good, because if you think about like Aries, or some of the other signs, it's like they can't hold a job. They can't hold their attention long enough to keep a job, or, you know, they're going from relationship to relationship to relationship because they want that instant gratification, that change, that newness, that, you know, that keep the energy going. Whereas Taurus is like, I don't want anything new. Like, I'm cool with this person. Like, they've done me right. Or it could be in the other sense of like, typically, Taurus energies can stay in situations for longer than needed be because they don't want to change. Even though they know it's not good for them anymore and that change is necessary, they resist it and they fight it. And that's, I think, probably Taurus's biggest downfall or struggle with their energy. And I deal with it all the time. I stay in jobs for too long that aren't doing me any good, or that I'm not learning anything in just because I don't want to get a new job. I don't want to learn something else. I don't care if I'm not getting paid well enough. Or I've stayed in very dysfunctional relationships, or relationships that I knew were probably going to end, but like also I just didn't want to start over again, because I didn't want to change. I didn't want something new. I didn't want my life to move into, you know what I'm saying? And so there's goods there. Tauruses are extremely loyal, extremely loyal. But they're one of the signs that will stay in things for too long, and they will hold a grudge because of the fact that it's like, I think you guys are getting it. I think you got the energy. Venus is very important as well. It's about the finer things in life. It's about luxury. It's about comfort. It's about, you know, beauty. It's about the arts. They're very creative. They're very earth, very, very earth. Taurus would love a good picnic with potatoes and a nice, very fuzzy blanket. You know, that's Taurus. Okay, so I could just keep going on and on and on and on and on. So, we talked about, let's talk really quickly about the rising, and then we're going to move on. We're an hour and a half into this. Our other witchy book clubs were lasting about an hour and a half, and I kind of already knew that these were going to last closer to 2 hours. So I'm going to do my best to keep it underneath that, but I knew for the first one with all my introduction stuff that we would have to go longer today. So in an ascendant or rising sense, if you have Venus, the planet, on your ascendant, or if you have an ascendant or rising in Taurus, okay, I got there. Are you guys following me with the connections in the birth chart? Even if you don't look at your birth chart, please take notes or try to remember what I'm saying, so when you do, you understand. So what I'm saying is, if you have, I can't see. So if you have, why won't it focus? See, here's the planet here. This is the ascendant over here, but if this planet was like real close to the ascendant, this is the descendant, but if this planet over here was really close to this line, that would be considered, depending on what degree it is, you could read that as that energy as well. So that's a little bit more complicated than I'd like to get into, but it's worth noting. If you're looking at your chart and you're saying, well, what about this? If it's like 3 to 5 degrees away, it is close enough to consider it that energy as well. So if your ascendant or your Venus is on the ascendant and it's Taurus, then you will probably have a prominent neck, either a very thick neck or something. I'm trying to think how else I could describe this. How do I describe a Taurus ascendant? Hold on, give me a second here. I want to make sure I'm using my words correctly, because I feel like if you guys hear something, you'll just soak it in right away. Taurus. Okay, so Taurus, I guess I could kind of put it in the sense of like, if Taurus people kind of look, if you have a Taurus ascendant or the planet on your ascendant, chances are you kind of look like you may have rolled right out of bed. Not always, but you're always gonna go for comfort over fashion, if that makes sense. And as well, I don't have a Taurus ascendant, I do have a Taurus moon, so emotionally I feel better when I'm comfortable. So, you know, I'm not talking about my ascendant. I have a Virgo ascendant, so that's different. But you would be coming off to people very grounded, very calm for the most part, depending on the other energies in your chart. Most of the time you have a prominent neck or a thick neck if you have a Taurus ascendant. You could have very wide, I would say like wide shoulders. Wide shoulders to me would be like Taurus. I feel as though Taurus is one of the harder ones for me to pick out. Like there's some signs and risings and ascendants that like I have an easier time picking out. And while I am a Gemini with a Virgo ascendant, when I look at my face, when I look at my features, I can see the Taurus in me. I have very like earthy, see, I have a Virgo ascendant. I'm sorry guys, I'm having a hard time with describing Taurus ascendant. Take everything that I have talked to you about with Taurus energy, as far as like they're very into beauty, they're very into looks, but they might be into the same look that they were in when they were a kid because it makes them feel good. They're typically going to do their makeup the same way, or if they don't, they might not do their makeup at all because it's a hassle to do and it takes them longer to get ready in the morning, and takes them out of the bed earlier, which they don't want to do. They want to lay in bed, they want to be comfortable, they want to sleep in, they want to take their time in the morning, and so they might not do their hair every day, they might not do their makeup every day. You know, they might be more prone to wearing yoga pants, and they might be more prone to wearing an old hoodie of their boyfriend's or something like that than, you know, making sure that they look nice and getting their hair done. And not to say that they can't. Sam's like, I'm wearing yoga pants right now. So not to say that they can't, but they are more likely to be dressed or come across as very comforting, very sensual, very, you know, very grounded. So that is the best I can describe Taurus energy. Now we are going to move on. We're going to move on to Gemini, which is also pretty easy for me to describe because it's my sun. It is the main actor in my play, if you haven't guessed already with how quickly in my live streams I lose focus. Or how all over the place I am, or how it seems like my channel is like an overall general energy of something, but like also I talk about 500 different things all the time. Because it is a mutable sign. So let's take our next note. So So, oh, and I would say for Taurus, oh wait, does it have a color for Taurus? Because when I think of Taurus, I think of like an earthy green. It is really, yeah, I think of like an earthy green, but I don't know if that's the actual color. Colors are a pale blue or a mauve, soft colors of refinement and gentleness. Sure, sounds good. Until you're talking about them getting upset. Or them having to make a change. Like, to me, green, like earthy green, is very comforting, it's very secure, it's very stable. So for me, I associate with green. It's how Michaela chose to do it in her little notebook. Not to say that pale colors and mauves aren't Taurus, but that's just my visualization for the color, just so you guys know. So Gemini is written like this. Hold on one second. I'm reading both of the glyphs here. Okay. The glyph for... Dang it. Ugh. You guys still with me? Have I still got your attention? The glyph for Gemini is written like a Roman numeral 2. This is the glyph for Gemini. Got it? The glyph for the planet that rules Gemini is Mercury. Okay, still here and learning so much. Good, I'm so glad. Oh, come on, focus. So this is the sign of, well, you guys can see it. I don't have to cover it up. This is the sign right here for the planet Mercury, which rules Gemini, as well as Virgo. So this is one of the 4 signs that share. So Taurus shares Venus with Libra, and Gemini shares Mercury with Virgo. Technically, Scorpio shares Mars with Aries, but I wasn't taught it in that sense, so we'll get to that. But when I was taught astrology, it was just Scorpio is Pluto. So we'll get to that. So Gemini is from May 21st to June 20th. It is a masculine energy. The element is air. The quality is mutable. So now we've gone through 3 signs, one of each of the qualities. We've gone through cardinal with Aries, we've gone through fixed with Taurus, and now we're going to be talking about mutable with Gemini. And I would say that the first 3 signs are probably the most like intense or easier to understand energies of those signs. So, hi Asha, sorry I'm just joining in, watching on my break between classes. Asha, you might be kind of confused, but welcome, keep joining, and if you want, you can watch the playback so you can start from the beginning. We're talking right now, and we're starting on Gemini and the energies of Mercury. So, the ruling planet is Mercury. The symbol is the twins. It's duality, it's 2, it's multiple. That's why it's the Roman numeral 2. Again, we'll get more into that. The dominant keywords for Gemini is I think. So Aries, I am. Taurus, I have. Gemini, I think. The polarity is Sagittarius. We already talked a little bit about their differences. There's more. We'll get into that at some point. So the parts of the body ruled by Gemini are the hands, the arms, the shoulders, the lungs, but I would argue anything that you have 2 of. I would say aside from the legs, because as we go further through the zodiac and further through the charts and the planets, we get down towards the body. So I would say anything from like the breasts are Cancer. So I would say from lungs up, anything that you have 2 of. Anything you have 2 of is Gemini. So your hands, your arms, your shoulders, your lungs, your ears, your eyes. I would consider that an element associated with Gemini. So Geminis are susceptible to strains and accidents involving arms, hands, and also prone to bronchitis and respiratory ailments. Now, the reason for that is because air is its element, and Mercury being its ruling planet is all about communication. So their communication with their selves, so what their thoughts are internally, externally, how they communicate, how they interact with others. That is Gemini's main energy, is communication and intellect and thoughts and things of that nature. So if they're overextending themselves, or if they are underextending themselves, or they are using their energies and they're getting run down, the first thing to go is typically their lungs, because of the breathing that it takes to communicate with others and to interact with others, and you pick up things from the air that make you sick. So that's the way that I learned it. Also, again, like I said, ear infections, duality, because to communicate or to be a good communicator, you need to learn how to think, how to speak, but also how to listen. So if you're someone that is not listening to others very well, or you're doing less speaking and more listening, and you're kind of throwing things off, that for me is how I will know, especially having a Taurus moon. My throat and my lungs, telling you, that's the first thing to go for me. And my ears, first thing to go for me. For you, it might be aches and pains in the body. Your body might get really achy, and that could be related to other energies or whatever. Your back might start to hurt you. If it's your upper back, it could be Leo. If it's your lower back, I consider that to be Taurus energy, because they're stubborn and they're sitting on their asses all the time and they're not moving. So anyways, Gemini. Danger. Gemini people are prone to accidents while traveling, especially by air. Their fickle nature also tends to arouse unexpected anger in others, the depth of which Geminis often misjudge. Okay, so I'm just making sure I went over all of the other things that we were going over. Special color, yellow, bright and luminous, the color of novelty. So let me go to, what did we use? Okay, so we did use like a yellowy, bright orange color for Gemini. Gemini. I think if I wasn't a Gemini, I think it would be one of the harder signs to explain to people. They're extremely thought-based. They're extremely logical. They're extremely interactive. They're extremely communications-based. Whereas, and they're about travel as well. So, Mercury, the ancient messenger of the gods. In astrology, Mercury rules communication and travel. Its influence emphasizes quick cleverness and a nervous temperament. So whereas Aries has a lot of energy, it's more in an aggressive, athletic, physical sense of energy. Whereas Gemini has a lot of energy with thoughts and communication. So it tends to make someone very nervous, very anxious, very scatterbrained, very flighty, very all over the place, if they cannot use their energy in a balanced way, or if maybe they have too much of air in their chart and not enough earth, or whatever. If they have a predominant, they might have a harder time getting a grasp on how to use that energy in a positive sense. Because it's ruled by Mercury, and one of its qualities is short distance travel. So Gemini is like here and here and here and here and here and here, starting a billion things. Because it's mutable, it is adjustable, it is quick to start new things, it wants to learn. A good way to think about Gemini is the jack of all trades, master of none. So whereas Taurus might be really good at like 2 or 3 things, and that's what they're good at forever, and they don't really want to try new things, Gemini is like good at everything and wants to try everything and wants to explore everything and learn everything, and they want everything, but because it's like, oh, I did it, okay, now what's next? They have a really hard time sticking with one thing, becoming very passionate about that thing for more than an X amount of time. So they can become, they can be seen as like unpredictable. They can be seen as, well, you know, yeah, we'll stick with that. It's fine. They're very clever with their words. They are skillful at handling others and brimful of new ideas. Geminis get how to be in any situation. Really, this is for any of the mutable signs, but like I said, the ones in the beginning are more intense energies. I don't want to say they're not as complex, but really starting with Aries in the first house. Oh, by the way, now we are moving on. We are also talking and resonating with the third am I pointing to the third house? Yes, the third house. So everything that we're talking about with Gemini and Mercury, specifically for Gemini, we are associating with the third house. Same thing, okay? They are, what was I saying before? I'm sorry. See? Gemini. Ah. So, this is not me being conceited. This is truth. Whatever I pick up, whatever I do, whatever I try, I'm good at. I pick things up, I learn them, I can see what it takes to understand things because my mind is constantly moving, constantly going, constantly taking in information, and it is a holder of a lot of information, which tends to be a buildup of a lot of energy for me. That's what we were talking about. Like I said, Aries is like aggression and energy in a physical sense, a physical form. It needs to exert itself in that way. Taurus is like, I have energy, but like it's not a lot. And like, I'm going to sit here and be good at my couple things that I'm good at. And Gemini has the energy that's more intellectual, internal, communicative, and is like, can tend to have a lot of nervous twitches, nervous tics. If you've noticed me, I'm always talking with my hands. That might just be an Italian thing, but also it helps me to keep doing things in an organized manner. I'm constantly touching my hair because it's like a twitch for me to, let's refocus my energy. I'm getting out of whack. I feel like I'm going all over the place. You touch your hair a lot. Yeah, I know, Rebecca. My mom tells me enough. Thanks. No, I know I do, but it's not only that, it is, and that's why I have a hard time letting go of my hair. That's the Taurus, because it's a security, it's comfort, but also it has become a ritual for me to put my energy into focusing myself. I touch my hair, back into my focus, because there's so many things going on in my head all at once, and I'm trying, especially when I'm doing something like this, trying to keep on topic. You know, I am constantly moving my fingers like this. My best friend will point it out. It's a nervous thing that I do, or not even a nervous. It's like I have all these thoughts and all of this energy, and doing this, like feeling my fingers or biting my fingers, I did it too when I had hair. Okay. I do this all of the time because I feel like it's a way to focus my energy and to keep my mind clear. It's not my favorite thing. I don't love that I'm constantly touching my hair, but I have recognized it as a tool in which it's like, bring it back home, Sam, because you're all over the place. Duality is Gemini's most famous trait. They have to have more than one of everything. They have to learn everything. They are not really that great with routine and ritual. Now, thank the heavens I have a Virgo ascendant and a Taurus moon, because I really don't know what kind of person I would be without that earth element, without that grounding, because Virgo is all about ritual and all about repetitiveness, so that I don't think that resonates as much for me because of the fact that I have those other. Oh my god, my dad is a Gemini and does that finger thing constantly. Yeah, so if it's not specifically the finger thing, just notice in the people who you know are Geminis. As a Gemini, I often bite my bottom lip, especially when I'm trying not to say something I shouldn't. Yes. So there's these nervous tics, or nervous tics makes it sound like a disability almost, which is, I don't think if you have a nervous tic it is, but it's more so about, you can see the restlessness. Literally, you can feel the restlessness most of the time in a Gemini. Again, with me, if I'm in a good space, normally I'm okay and it's very subtle, like the touching of my hair. But I mean, all of you are watching me right now, so you're very aware of what I'm doing with my body. But in a normal sense, I'm probably doing something very like subtle like this because I have a very grounded energy to me most of the time with my Taurus moon and my Virgo ascendant and all the rest of the stuff in my chart. Someone who does not, you probably are like, whoa, honey, child, like you need to chill. Do you want to just relax for a second? Like, because you can feel that like energy and that like wanting to learn and to talk and to go and to do. And that Gemini is, my bro is a Gemini too, and he rocks his body. Oh, yeah. So it's like constant movement. It's like helping to center. I didn't think that this is where I was going to go with Gemini, but I guess this is what we need to be talking about. I would say, okay, so I highlighted this on page 20. It says, you love to talk to people, and this is the great secret of your charm. Others open to you like flowers. I have been told my entire life that I am extremely approachable. And I think it's a lot to do with my ascendant as well, which is Virgo. Virgos are very helpful. They're very plain Jane in their appearance, so they're very easily, like I don't have blue hair and a nose ring, so older people aren't looking at me like, what's this weirdo? I have a very, approachable look to me, but also an approachable energy. Because I want to communicate with people. I want to talk to people clearly. And so, oh my gosh, does it cut you off at 2 hours? Does anybody know if the live streams cut you off in 2 hours? Because I got 10 minutes left, people. Oh, I've never talked this long on a live stream, I don't think. So let's see. They're intelligent. They're really good at puzzles. They're really great with words. So word searches and games. Anything that's making a Gemini think or use their mind. Whereas Gemini probably loves a good job that'll travel. I don't think it cuts you off. Okay, I'm hoping so. I don't know if I've ever seen a live stream go longer than 2 hours. So we'll try and wrap it up, hopefully. So Geminis are all about short distance travels. It's intelligence. It's thought provoking. It is all about getting, learning and curious and creative and going in here and there and here. And they want to talk to people. Oh my God, I want to do a word search now, Gemini sun. Yes, so they want to do things that stimulate their mind, that stimulate their conversation. They want to ask questions. They're often the obnoxious child in class that like asks the question that's probably already been answered, but like they just want to make sure that they understand things. They need to be understood. But again, remember our keywords for Gemini are I think. So it's the communicative, it is the intellectual base, it's learning, it's going, it's doing. They're good at lots of things, but never really, not most of the time, depending on your other qualities in there, you're more likely to not be the master of anything because you're really more influenced in going and trying and doing and learning and expressing yourself in all of the ways. There's a lot of, I watched Toxic Tears do a 19-hour live stream. Okay, cool. We're good. I mean, I do want to wrap up because we're talking for 2 hours. But I don't want to get cut off. I want to make sure we're hitting all of the spots we need to. They are probably really good with spelling bees. Punctuation is really important to them. Technology. It's not the only sign or only energy that rules technology, but because of the fact that it is a way to communicate nowadays with people, it's a way to interact and to learn. They are often very into social media, or well, aren't we all? But you know what I'm saying? It's more of an addiction to them because it's a way for them to learn and access information. It is more beneficial for Geminis not only to turn off their phone or keep it away from them more than an hour before bed, because typically Gemini energy is going to have a harder time going to sleep because they can't shut their minds off. They cannot stop the thinking. They cannot stop that energy. It's internal. It is not external like Aries. And obviously Taurus doesn't have a problem sleeping because that's all they want to do is sleep. So, and they want to sleep for 20 hours, where Gemini's like, okay, I'm good with either 2 or 10, and that's good for me. Like, I need to make sure that I'm rested so I have energy, but also they are very prone to possibly waking up at 4 in the morning for no reason because they can't shut their brain off. So it is really, oh my God, yes, I have to meditate before bed. I've learned, well, I have a Taurus moon, so I really don't have that much problem going to sleep, but I will wake up like this, and if I am stimulated at all with information, like if I'm reading a book that's like really stimulating before bed, then I have a hard time falling to sleep. If I play video games too close to bed, I will fall asleep. If I am on my phone right before bed, I will have a hard time falling asleep. Because of the fact that I can't turn it off as easy as some of the other signs can. So they are engineers, they are inventors, they are so good at thinking and coming up with ideas and learning and using their words. They're extremely witty. If you meet a Gemini and they're using their qualities for their best, you could put them in any situation, in any room, in any party, and even if they know nothing about what's being talked about, they can listen for 2 seconds and have a conversation and be funny and be in on it, and they can, I imagine they're great writers. They are great writers. There's a couple signs that are really good with writing, but they write in different ways. So, Venus, Libra are really great writers as well, but they're more poets. They're more using that Venus sense. They're more going to be talking about love and relationships and stuff like that. Whereas, whereas Sagittarius is going to be talking about long trilogies and novels about deep philosophical things and fantasy and all of that. Geminis are going to be probably more so of your comedians. They're probably going to be more so about the autobiographies, or they're probably going to be more so about, well, autobiographies would probably be like Gemini mixed with Aries, because it's like, let me tell you about myself. I love to listen to a Sag talk though. Yeah, me too. So, there's a lot of dualities between, like I said, with the polarities, we're talking Gemini, and then the opposition would be Sagittarius. So like I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, if you came in late, the polarities make a lot of sense when you think about it in this term. So, okay, so another thing about Gemini is vision. This, to me, has always stuck with me, and if you don't think this is valid, if you already know astrology, I don't know what to tell you, because it seems pretty valid to me, and my grandma taught it to me. If you have glasses or you have vision impaired, chances are you have one of 2 qualities to you, either Gemini or Sagittarius, or there's something affecting your natal chart concerning those planets that rule those signs or those houses in your chart. Remember, we're talking about how those are all related together. Gemini is associated with being nearsighted because it's all of the small things here. We're looking at things, we're reading the fine print, we're going in and, well, not the fine print, that's more Virgo. Sorry. Bring it back in, Gemini, bring it back in. It's short distance travels. It's the things that are right in front of us we want to do and gravitate towards our interaction towards the stuff that are right here to Taurus. I'm a Gemini and I have a Sag moon and I wear glasses. Oh yeah, so you're definitely gonna have glasses. Because it's the way that we're getting our information visually, because we can communicate with our eyes as well. So the information that Geminis or Sagittarius are taking in about their surroundings have a lot. We're visual beings, are visual. So for a Gemini to be mutable in a situation or a party, the first thing they're going to be doing is taking a look at where they're at. Where are they at? What is everybody doing? How is everybody's body language? What is the overall feel? Where am I? And the information is being processed immediately, and they, without even trying, become mutable into that or adaptable to that situation. Then they're going to be talking to people and kind of getting the vibe. How's everybody feeling? How's everybody doing? Think of that in the polarity sense of Sag. Well, Sag is a little different. We'll get there. But Sag is like the overall big picture. They they're normally farsighted. Am I saying that backwards? Basically, Sages have a hard time seeing near, and they can typically see things far because that's their energy. They want the big picture. They're long distance travelers. They're the overall feel, the big picture, the overall energy. I have the reverse of that, cannot adapt to social situations. And Buddy said, oh my God, yes, I'm always taking in my surroundings and seeing what peeps are doing. So, I mean, we all are, but it's easier to understand the energies when I explain it this way of the signs and stuff. So, typically, if you see someone with glasses, you normally can assume, you never want to assume, because you always make an ass out of you and me, okay, I'm getting slap happy. This is a lot. So we're going to wrap it up. But basically, normally if you have glasses or you see someone with glasses, chances are they have Gemini or Sag in a major area of their chart. Typically their sun, moon, or their ascendant. Thanks, Paper Bits. Thanks for that LOL. And so you can say, like, go up to that person and be like, hey, oh, I have glasses too, or whatever. Are you nearsighted or are you farsighted? And if they say they're nearsighted, gosh, I can't remember. Is it nearsighted is that you can see near but you can't see far, or is it the opposite way? I'm nearsighted, right? I'm Sag and I wear glasses. Yeah. Because it's the way that we're interacting with our surroundings and what we see. Okay, and opposite. Okay, anyways, you guys know what I'm saying. Geminis can see up close, can't see out far. Okay, and the opposite for its opposite, Sag. Sag can see things on the big picture, can see typically, if we're talking about visual, like impairness with needing glasses or something, then that's where that is at. Okay, fun little side note. If we're talking about Gemini and a moon, we're going to be talking about somebody who is emotionally stimulated by thoughts, who my first initial thought to moon and Gemini would be anxiety. Not to say that you have to have anxiety or that you will have anxiety, but I could think about how my Gemini energy is that I deal with, and putting it in an emotional sense or how I react emotionally to things. I would say that it would be kind of difficult to deal with. Something that I heard a long time ago about having a moon in Gemini is that if you're feeling anxious or you're feeling like you're having a hard time emotionally, things that are really good for Geminis to do is to take walks. Because of the fact that it's short distance travels and it's helping you to clear your mind and focus on other things other than what you're getting stuck emotionally in your mind about. So if you know someone with a Gemini moon, or you are a Gemini moon and you struggle with overthinking, or you struggle with not being able to focus, taking walks or taking short breaks is very beneficial for Gemini, whereas Taurus, the entirety is a break. The whole thing is one big break. I mean, we're learning, but we're doing it casually. Where Geminis, like, they have very short attention spans typically, and they have a hard time with sticking on one thing. So take them out of the element. If you have a child who's a Gemini or a Gemini moon or a Gemini ascendant and you have a hard time struggling to get them to focus, I can suggest to you to do things like take breaks, learn in intervals. We all learn in different ways. That is so important, and it drives me crazy about the school system nowadays, or even just in general. Every child, every person learns differently, and someone that has an energy with Gemini is going to really need to take breaks, is going to really need to learn in intervals of things. And so if you know that about yourself, or when you're doing your study sessions with, don't wait to the last minute and give yourself 4 hours to cram everything in. Work on things 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. You are going to retain, and you're going to have a lot more happiness in your life, because that's the way that your energy is easiest to use. Okay, I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh, I had no patience for school. Well, you know what, Bunny? I feel like Geminis can be very impatient. And so do you have any Gemini? But I feel like it's because of the fact that it's like Geminis, without something like Virgo or another earth energy in it, They are impatient, and also they have no time to stay on one thing for too long. And you have to learn the same subject all the way through the year, and it's like, in the same class, I'm the same teacher, I'm bored immediately because I picked up everything that the teacher told me already. I learned it all, I've already gotten it, and now the other kids are far behind. You know, the Gemini in class is like the one that's like, okay, how did you guys not understand what was being told? Like, the teacher said it, I learned it, why are we still on the same effing chapter for 2 more weeks? So, like, if the teacher is like, oh, you guys scored bad on your test, we're going to have to re-go over these chapters and we're going to have to redo it. The Gemini in the class is like, oh my God, are you kidding? I'm so bored. We got it. I got it, you know? Whereas the Taurus is probably like, whatever, cool with me. Like, I might have already got it, but like, I don't mind going over it again. Aries moon might be behind that bunny, right? You said that they are impatient. Yeah, Aries is extremely impatient. So as Aries might not be like, oh my God, you guys didn't get this already. Aries is more like, oh, this makes me so mad. I'm just so bored because I want to learn. Like, I want to get, I'm not saying this right. Angry at the other students for like blowing it for them. Like, you know what I mean? Taurus quickly zones out over anything they don't care about. Yeah, that's also valid, guys. Okay, so the last thing we're going to talk about is the Gemini ascendant. You'll see that this is why we're learning everything together, is because once you get the basic energies of the signs and the planets associated with them, it is easy to know about the other things. So again, we're talking about the 3rd house, we're talking about Mercury, we're talking about Gemini, we're talking about air, mutable, all of those things together as one. So the planet Mercury, for instance, to give you a little bit, the planet Mercury in my chart, and we know about Mercury now, Mercury is about the qualities typically of Gemini. Now that gets a little complicated because, like I said, it's one of those planets that rules 2 signs, so we'll get to the other side of Mercury. But Mercury in my planet, so look for the glyph that we talked about. Remember, we wrote down the glyph for Mercury. So you can find that in your chart. Mine is right here. You can see it's in red. And the sign that it's in for me is Taurus, which we already know. I wish this would focus. So you can see here's my moon, here's my Mercury, and they are in the sign of Taurus, right? So you would think about Mercury. Mercury is communication. It is the way that people communicate. It is how they express themselves in a outwardly way, like express themselves emotionally is the moon, or how they deal with their emotions, how they communicate with others is Mercury, how they travel, Mercury. We know this, right? So we also know the energies of Taurus. So how could you think putting those 2 together would react with each other? So the way I communicate typically is very slow moving, very, you know, and I am a Gemini, so I'm all over the place, but the way that I communicate is very practical. It's very slow moving. I can stay on the same subject for too long, or if my Gemini comes out, I'm like lost all of a sudden. I don't want to brag, but I have a really great singing voice. My moon is in Taurus and my Mercury is in Taurus, and they're 3 degrees away from each other. I have always been a good singer. I love to sing. I went to school. I was in all the musicals. I went to school when I first went to college for, you know, musical theater and theater. I feel like I can express myself very well through music and through singing. So I communicate. Does trauma or other life-changing negative incidents lead to other astrological signs to appear, or are their changes just emotionally? I don't quite understand what you're asking me. I'm sorry. Let me try and read that again. Does trauma or other life-changing negative instances lead to other astrological signs to appear? Or are the changes just emotional? I think you might be asking like 3 different questions in one. So if you could kind of maybe give me a little bit more specifics about what you're asking. For example, I have Aries anger, but I never did as much before, and no Aries seems to be in my chart. So your birth chart, oh shit, I'm late. Allie, hey, we're wrapping up. We're 2 hours into this. And when I say we're wrapping up, I am taking questions now and stuff. So Aries, it's there, but not in spots you mentioned. It's very far down in the houses. Okay, good question, Christine. I'm going to ask you to keep that in mind when we get to the house. What house is it? Oh, see, I don't know how to do this. Okay, and it appears once. Everybody has all of the energies within them. Everybody has all of the planets in their chart. So for someone to say that they don't have Aries in their chart, if they don't have any of the signs in Aries or any of the planets in Aries, that would mean that none of the planets have those energies, but everybody has Mars in their chart. Everybody has a first house, and everybody is going to have Aries somewhere. See, here's my Aries. So if I didn't have any of the planets in Aries, I would still have Mars in my chart, and I would still have Aries in the outskirts of my chart, which, as you can see, is hovering over my 8th and 7th. Wait, am I reading this right? So hard to read it through the screen. I have Aries on the outskirts of my 7th and 8th house. Okay, and again, I don't want to get into that specifically right now, Christine, but just know that it might make sense maybe for another sign. Aries is not the only aggressive or anger-driven sign. It's just passionate and aggressive and angry in a sense, physically more so than others. Because every sign gets angry. Like I mentioned with the bull gets angry. It might take them 5 years to get angry, and then they're going to be talking to you about everything they were mad about in the last 5 years, and it's going to be talking about that for a whole year. It's more so about... I can't really properly answer that for you, Christine. I'd have to see your birth chart, and we'd be getting a little bit more off topic than I want. So save your question, and hopefully I'll be answering it in further, maybe with other. Vocal coach right here, you have to sing for us one time now. I feel like I'm alive. I'm not going to sing in this live stream just because it's already 2 hours long. If you're a really good detective and you want to go to my old ass vlog channel and look up any of the times that I'm singing with my ukulele, you can do that, and they're really cringy and really annoying, and I can't believe that I still have them up on the internet. Not the singing, I don't mind that. It's more so, yeah, it's more so just like the whole aspect of vlogging to me. And anyways, I feel like I'm a lot Aries. I'm just wondering, was it always there, or did it more so occur only because of the event? Kind of different. So your birth chart is here. It is solid. It is stationary. I love your singing voice. Thank you, Heather. Thank you. Have you stalked me on my vlog channel? How do you know? How do you know my singing voice? I mean, I sing song everything anyways, but I mean actually singing. This never changes. That's my day sorted then. Okay, great. Good job, Rebecca. Have fun with that. I have a couple, couple of the vlogs have like the thumbnail where I have ukulele in it or whatever. Or if you're like a real detective, you can find like a 10-year-old video that I did with an ex-boyfriend, and I'm like so young or whatever, and it's like, I don't know, it's got lots of views on it, but anyways, stop talking about that. I don't want to talk about that anymore. So this never changes. I saw some of your old vlogs and I saw you singing. Thank you. This never changes, Christine. This is set in place. However, if you missed the beginning, I briefly talked about the 2 parts that normally we talk about in astrology once we learn all the basics. It is learning the basics of a natal chart, learning the zodiac, learning the signs, learning the planets, learning the energies, the dualities, the qualities, the polar opposites, and all of that stuff and how they interact with each other. That this is a snapshot. This never changes. This is you. You are you always. These are your qualities. Now, during your life, or even from day to day, hour to hour, you might be gravitating towards certain elements of your energy towards one side and then towards another. So one day I might be really set in my stubborn, emotional Taurus ways, and I might be very grounded and very stable and steady. And then other times I might be very gentle and passive and very, you know, emotionally open to whatever, and as long as it just makes us good, I feel good, it's fine, we're good, you know. Or another day I might be PMSing and be like, this is my way, this is how I'm comfortable with it, and you disrupted this, and now I'm a raging bull. So it really just depends. I'm giving you the basics of all of the energies. It's how you choose to handle it. Some people might lean towards one aspect of it than another, and again, it might change from hour to hour, day to day, year to year. But you often also have to take into a factor, and I know this is a lot of information, guys. This is just how it is, and this is why I had a hard time wrapping my head around teaching astrology to you guys. The natal chart is set in place. Transits is the study of the planets as they're continuously moving through the sky, affecting us, reacting to us. So, I mentioned this a little bit in the beginning, but let's say, here is Jupiter. Here's my Jupiter. It is in the 10th house. It's in the sign of Cancer. There's my Jupiter. It is to the 10th degree. So, when the planet Jupiter enters the sign of Cancer at the 10th degree, it is going to be hitting directly on top of my natal chart, my soul's imprint, my stationary energy of Jupiter in the 10th degree in Cancer. It is going to affect me in a big way, more so than somebody else, you know, whose Jupiter might be in the second house of, you know, Capricorn in the 2nd degree. It's not going to affect them in the same way as me. That's why we all have different experiences at different times, and we react to things differently, because the planets are still moving in the sky and affecting us. It's just like charting your cycle around the moon, or knowing that when the full moon is out, women are forced into pregnancy more so because of the gravitational pull on the tides. The major planets, or just the planets in general, are affecting us every single day in the ways, in that way, okay? I feel like that might be a little bit too overload, and I'd like to wrap up now. But just so you understand, when you get your birth chart, and I saw someone ask, I'm not going to repeat it again. Hopefully somebody can answer in the comments. If you came in late, you can watch the very beginning of the playback. I explain what your birth chart is and how you can get it. You're going to need to know your time if you don't know your time, and how I suggest maybe trying to play around and finding it. You don't need your birth chart, but it is a lot more helpful, and it makes learning astrology a lot more fun to be able to personally relate it to what I'm saying. But if not, you can still join in. I have to pee. It's been almost 2.5 hours. I feel as though I did the best that I could with the introduction. Again, now you can see how we will be using this book. This is our Witchy Book Club book, but how it's mostly going to be a textbook tool and a basis for me to start regurgitating my info that I have learned over the years, and from my grandma, and from my own studies, and from my day-to-day interactions with people and reading charts. I'm going to answer this right now. I do not currently read natal charts, and I currently do not read transits. I used to. I'm not saying that I won't ever again. I just currently do not find that I have the time to do that, and I'm a little bit more passionate about my tarot and stuff like that. If you are interested in a tarot reading from me, though, I do have an astrological spread that I do that's very big. It's 13 cards, and I use the energies of each of the signs as positions for the cards, and it covers everything. So that's what I tell people, and I've had a lot of people message me or email me or DM me like, do you read my chart? Will you read my chart? Not saying that I never will again, but currently I do not read charts. Yes, Cafe Astrology, that's it, Heather. Thank you so much. Again, you can watch the playback. I'm going to wrap things up. Does anybody have any last questions about specifically what we talked about today with Aries, with Taurus, with Gemini, or Mars, or Venus, or Mercury, or the first, the second, or the third houses? Does anybody have any questions or any final comments or thoughts? I'm sure I left a shitload out. I'm sure that I will for everything. But that's the name of the game. I hope that I did it justice, and I cannot wait for next week. We will be going over the next 3 signs. So in the book, you can just continue. It's not a ton of reading. It's not, because you're going to be getting all of the information from me. So I'm just trying to see the pages for you guys, because I know the next signs. But so the next, thank you. The next reading for next week is going to be pages 23. We're going to cover Cancer. We're going to cover Leo. And then we're going to be covering Libra. So you're going to be reading to pages 41 or 42 if you want to look at the celebrities. So our reading section for next week is 23 through 42 or 41. You have no homework because I have to pee. Your homework is, if you don't already have it, to get your birth chart or to try and get as close as you can to your birth chart. I have to pee so bad. I love you all so much. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope if you're watching the playback that you can comment below and let me know your thoughts, and if you enjoyed this and if you're excited about next week. Thank you all so much. Share this video or share this with others so that they can join if you know people that want to learn astrology or want to get incorporated with things like this. I love you all so very much, and I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful, magical day, and I'll see you next time.